again, I'm Dr. Nev, and this is the final part of my 5-part series on assertive communication. I frequently utilize these strategies with clients in my private practice, and I hope you will find them to be useful as well. If you are experiencing significant distress, please contact your local psychologist. In today's video, we will discuss 5 miscellaneous tips for assertive communication. The first assertiveness technique is called fogging. So with fogging, it involves taking criticism as feedback and not taking it personally. So imagine that somebody looked at your shirt and said something like, "Oh, the color of your shirt is horrendous." So how might you feel in that situation, and what might you do? Most people might feel a little bit offended, they might get defensive, they might want to give a witty response, but ultimately that only escalates the situation and produces conflict. So one way that you can approach that comment of, "Oh, the color of your shirt is horrendous," is by saying, "Yes, I can see that you think it's a pretty horrendous color." So the word yes takes them by surprise, and it can reduce that tension and conflict. So you're not agreeing that the color of your shirt is horrendous, only that you can see that they think so. So again, with fogging, you're essentially letting criticism pass through you like a fog and trying to find some common ground. The second strategy that can assist with assertiveness is humor. Humor, however, can diffuse tense moments, but it can also make them worse. So it's very important that you are very selective as to how you're using humor, with whom, and on what occasions. It may not be appropriate with everyone, so again, just be very discerning when it comes to making jokes, especially if a situation is somewhat tense. And I'll give you a silly example from my personal life. If my husband and I ask each other to do something and the other person doesn't want to do it, and the answer is no, we say something cute like, "Oh, someday, but not today," meaning it's never going to happen. And it just makes both of us laugh, and it softens up that no. The third strategy for dealing with assertiveness and assertive communication is simply to rehearse and to practice. So it's important when you have to confront somebody or say no to somebody to do so confidently. So practice in front of the mirror, practice the speech that you want to give, or practice with a friend so you can get a little bit of feedback. And even though this might feel kind of silly and it might feel like a time waster, it truly does help in building up your confidence and in preparing you what you want to say so you're not just winging it and letting things come out of your mouth that you were not planning to say. The fourth strategy for assertive communication is using I language. So if we look back to that example that we used in the first 4 videos about Molly being late for lunch and you feeling upset about her tardiness, what you may want to say to Molly with I language is, "I'd like you to show up to our coffee date on time," versus something like, "You need to be more responsible and considerate." I language sounds much less accusatory, and it's more likely to lead some type of compromise and negotiation and help the other person feel a little bit more respected. And finally, the 5th strategy for assertive communication is the stuck record technique, also known as the broken record technique. So basically, you're repeating your point or your request over and over and over again. So imagine a scenario where you had asked your supervisor for time off of work, which they initially agreed to give you and then changed their mind. So you might say something like, "I asked for time off the first week of May and you told me I would get those days off. Now I see my name on the schedule." And the boss might say, "I don't recall." So you might counter that by saying, "According to my calendar, we spoke on February 1st. You told me I would get those days off and I already booked a flight for the week that you gave me off. Now I see that I'm scheduled to work, and that's a problem for me." So your boss might respond with something like, "We're short-staffed, so I really need you to come in." And then if you are continuing to be a broken record, you might say something along the lines of, "I'm sorry you're short-staffed. However, we discussed me having these days off and you gave me verbal approval. I already booked a flight, so I am unable to work that week. I hope you can find someone else to fill in." So again, the point of this strategy is to simply reinforce and repeat yourself until the other person finally hears you and understands where you're coming from. I recognize that being assertive can feel very intimidating, but it is just a skill set and practice makes perfect. Remember that being assertive or confident and direct in your communication is not the same as being aggressive. Aggressive communicators tend to be pushy, demanding, whiny, and offensive. Assertive communicators, on the other hand, can be characterized as firm but kind. And remember that assertiveness is a virtue and a sign of self-respect and respect that you give to others. Thank you so much for watching part 5 of my 5-part series on assertiveness skills. If you found this video to be useful, I hope you will check out my upcoming series on improving relationships with people in your life. Please subscribe if you would like YouTube to remind you when these videos become available. Thank you for your time and take care.